Welcome to Supernatural History TV, where today we'll be talking about Moses, the Horned Prophet. In the Church of St. Peter in Chains, there is a sculpture of Moses by the famous Michelangelo. Many who see this sculpture are confused with the state of Moses having horns. This has caused controversy because of the diabolical looking prophet of the Old Testament. So, where does the depiction of a horned Moses come from? Well, it comes from a key phrase from the Bible.
Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God.
Scholars suggest that it came from St. Jerome of the 4th century, who is responsible for the creation of the Latin official Bible called the Latin Vulgate. St. Jerome was responsible for translating the Bible into Latin with his commentaries throughout the Bible. It is suspected that Jerome's translation of the original Hebrew text of the Old Testament did not have words that could have been translated in Latin. This misconception can be seen with St. Jerome's literal translation of the Old Testament, not deviating what is to be translated. This is where many speculate where the misconception of the text originated. Moses came down the hill with horns, while the multitude were afraid to look at him.
In the Latin version of Exodus 34, 30 videntes, autem Aaron et filii Israel, cornutam Mosi, faciem timuerunt prop acceder, and Aaron and the children of Israel, seeing the face of Moses horned, were afraid to come near.
The Latin word cornutum, translated, can mean both the shining or horned. It is possible that St. Jerome meant the translation to be read as shining, but for much of the early medieval to Renaissance, all the way up to 1979, there are many depictions of Moses having goat horns over his head. Because of the mistranslation, many artists, scholars, and religious figures took the literal meaning and believed Moses had horns, as stated earlier by Michelangelo. Since the translation of Moses having horns being not interpreted or translated properly, what did Moses really look like? But according to the actual Hebrew translation, Moses' radiant skin was translated as Canaan, which sounds very similar to the word Kareem. Kareem translated means horns or projected outwards. However, Canaan, as it's stated in Exodus, indicates Moses' face, set forth rays of light or projected light.
The Lord warns Moses about the danger of seeing his face. You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai carrying the two of the testimony, he didn't know that the skin of his face glowed because he had been speaking with God. Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, saw his radiant face, and held back, afraid to get close to him.
Due to this meeting with God, Moses was assumed to hide his face with a veil. This was to not frighten the people from God's light. Why did the Bible change? In order to understand the misconceptions, the Bible we know today has gone through many changes. The Torah and the Tanakh were first written in ancient Hebrew, which began to be first written during the time of the Babylonian captivity in the Persian Achaemenid Empire between 450 to 350 BC. The Old Testament was translated into Greek with the Septuagint, which was what early Christians used. The New Testament was also written in Koine Greek. The original Greek of the Bible was translated into Latin by the request of Pope Damasus I, who commissioned his secretary, biblical scholar St. Jerome, who translated the Bible into Latin. This Bible is called the Latin Vulgate. Further changes? In short, yes. The Pope declared that this version of the Bible is only canon Bible. This happened in 382 AD. The next iteration of the Bible would be with the Protestant Reformation in the early modern period. The Protestant Reformation, started by Martin Luther, primarily used a translation of the Bible in High German. At this time, they began to use the Luther Bible as well. The first time the Bible was written in English was by William Tyndale with the Tyndale Bible from 1522 to 1535. The Church of England also used the Geneva Bible of 1560. The next iteration of the Bible came from the King James Version of the Bible in 1601. Modern-day Bibles fix translational errors in the King James Version of the Bible. What can we learn from the many changes of who has shaped the Bible? Well, as stated earlier, words have different meanings and don't necessarily mean the same thing that we define today. Do you think Moses actually had horns, or do you believe he shined due to seeing God? Answer in the comments below. And remember to like and subscribe and stay in tune for more Supernatural History TV.